The morning sun cast long shadows across Haven Colony when Captain Jake Sullivan first spotted the dark shapes moving across the sky. He lowered his coffee cup and reached for his binoculars. What he saw through the lenses made his blood run cold. 3 massive ships hung in the air above the mining settlement. They were nothing like the cargo vessels that usually visited their small outpost. These ships were sleek and black, with strange blue lights pulsing along their hulls. Jake had never seen anything like them before. "Lisa, get over here right now," Jake called to Sergeant Lisa Martinez, who was checking the morning patrol schedule near the communications tent. Lisa jogged over and took the binoculars from Jake's hands. She studied the ships for several long seconds before handing them back. Her face had gone pale. "Those aren't human ships, Captain," she said quietly. "I've never seen designs like that in any of our databases." Jake nodded grimly. Haven Colony was supposed to be a quiet mining operation on the edge of human space. They had 50 soldiers stationed here to protect the miners from pirates and wildlife. Nobody had ever mentioned the possibility of meeting aliens. "Sound the alarm," Jake ordered. "Get all civilians to the underground shelters. Tell Ryan Cooper to set up defensive positions around the mining equipment. If these visitors are friendly, we can always stand down. If they're not..." He didn't need to finish the sentence. Lisa was already running toward the alarm station. The warning sirens echoed across the colony as families rushed toward the reinforced bunkers built into the hillside. Jake watched the ships through his binoculars and saw smaller craft detaching from the larger vessels. Landing craft, he realized. Whatever was on those ships was coming down to meet them. Sergeant Martinez returned with Private Ryan Cooper and Corporal Danny Walsh. Both men carried assault rifles and looked nervous. "What's the situation, Captain?" Ryan asked, checking his weapons power cell. "Unknown contacts approaching from orbit. Could be traitors, could be trouble. We're taking no chances." Jake pointed toward the rocky outcropping that surrounded the colony on 3 sides. "I want defensive positions set up behind those boulders. If shooting starts, we use the terrain to our advantage." The landing craft descended slowly, their engines making a strange humming sound that Jake had never heard before. As they got closer, he could see they were much larger than human dropships. Whatever was inside them, there was a lot of it. The first craft touched down about 200 meters from the colony's main buildings. Steam hissed from its landing legs as the engines powered down. Jake and his soldiers watched from behind, their rocky cover as a ramp lowered from the ship's belly. What emerged made Jake's heart skip a beat. The creatures were tall, at least 8 feet, with scaly green skin that looked like natural armor. They walked on 2 legs like humans, but their heads were more like lizards with yellow eyes and rows of sharp teeth. Each one carried a weapon that glowed with the same blue light as their ships. "Holy hell," Danny whispered from his position, behind a nearby boulder. "Are those really aliens?" More creatures poured out of the other landing craft. Jake counted at least 60 of them, maybe more. They formed up in organized ranks like professional soldiers. Whatever these things were, they knew how to fight. One of the aliens, bigger than the others and wearing what looked like officers' insignia, stepped forward. It raised some kind of device to its mouth and spoke. The words came out in a harsh hissing language that hurt Jake's ears. Then the device translated the words into perfect English. "Attention, primitive inhabitants. I am Commander Vextar of the Vorthan Empire. Your world now belongs to us. Surrender immediately and you will be processed efficiently. Resist and you will be eliminated." Jake looked at his soldiers. Lisa was gripping her rifle so tightly her knuckles were white. Ryan was breathing hard, but his aim was steady. Danny looked scared but determined. "I don't think so," Jake muttered. He activated his own communication device and set it to broadcast across all frequencies. "This is Captain Jake Sullivan of the Earth Colonial Defense Force. You are trespassing on human territory. Leave now and no one gets hurt." The alien commander made a sound that might have been laughter. "Humans. We have conquered 17 worlds. Your species is noted for its weakness and inability to accept reality. This will be over quickly." The alien raised its glowing weapon and fired. The blue energy bolt struck the rock where Jake had been standing a second before. The stone melted. like butter sending up clouds of superheated steam. Jake rolled to new cover as more aliens opened fire. "Return fire," Jake shouted. The battle began in earnest. Human bullets sparked off alien armor, while blue energy beams turned rocks into slag and set the scrub brush on fire. The aliens advanced steadily, their formation tight and disciplined. Lisa took aim at an alien soldier and squeezed the trigger. Her shot caught it in the shoulder, spinning it around. Green blood splattered across the ground, but the creature kept fighting. "They're tough," she called out. "Regular rounds aren't dropping them." Ryan had better luck. He aimed for an alien's head and put 3 rounds into its skull. The creature finally went down and stayed down. "Head shots work," Ryan yelled. "Go for the head." The aliens were getting closer. Their weapons were more powerful than anything the humans had, and their natural armor made them hard to kill. Jake realized they were going to be overwhelmed unless they did something clever. "Fall back to the secondary positions," he ordered. "Use the mining tunnels." The human soldiers retreated deeper into the rocky terrain, using their knowledge of the colony's layout to their advantage. The aliens followed, but they were moving into unfamiliar ground now. Danny had positioned himself near the entrance to one of the mining shafts. As a group of aliens approached, he triggered the explosive charges that the miners used to blast through rock. The tunnel entrance collapsed, crushing 2 aliens and blocking the path for several more. The fight continued for hours. Neither side could gain a clear advantage. The aliens had better weapons and armor, but the humans knew the terrain and fought with desperate determination. As the sun began to set, both sides pulled back to regroup. Jake counted his casualties and felt sick. He had lost 12 soldiers, including Emma Rodriguez, their medic. The aliens had lost fewer, maybe 6 or 7. "We can't keep this up," Lisa said, bandaging a plasma burn on her arm. "They're going to wear us down." Jake nodded. Tomorrow would bring another battle, and he wasn't sure his remaining soldiers could survive it. But giving up wasn't an option. The colonists were counting on them. He had no way of knowing that tomorrow would change everything. General Kexathera stood on the bridge of his command ship, watching the human settlement through the view screen. 3 days had passed since the first battle, and his warriors were preparing for the final assault. The humans had fought better than expected, but they were still just primitives with inferior weapons. "Status report." Kexathera ordered his second-in-command, Commander Zithrak. "Our forces are ready, General. The humans lost 12 soldiers in the first engagement. Our scouts confirm they have only 38 defenders remaining. Victory should be swift." Kexathera nodded. The humans had surprised him with their stubbornness, but numbers didn't lie. His warriors were superior in every way. This would be the last day of resistance on Haven Colony. "Begin the attack," he commanded. "Down on the planet's surface, Captain." Jake Sullivan crouched behind the same rocky outcropping where the battle had started 3 days ago. He checked his weapon and looked at his soldiers. Something felt different this morning, but he couldn't put his finger on what it was. "Everyone, ready?" he asked. "Ready as we'll ever be, Captain," Sergeant Lisa Martinez replied. She was positioned behind a large boulder, her rifle aimed at the landing zone where the alien dropships would arrive. Jake did a quick head count of his soldiers. 38 remaining, just like he expected. But something nagged at him. He remembered losing Emma Rodriguez, their medic, in the first battle. He had watched her fall when an alien energy blast caught her in the chest. Yet when he looked around now, he could swear he had seen her earlier that morning, helping to distribute ammunition. The alien dropships descended from the sky, just like before. Jake pushed his confused thoughts aside and focused on the battle. Ahead, the Vorten warriors emerged from their landing craft in perfect formation. They looked confident, almost bored. Their commander Vextar activated his translator device. "Surrender now, humans. You fought well, but you are outnumbered. We offer you one final chance to live." "Go to hell," Jake replied, raising his rifle. The second battle began exactly like the first, but something was wrong from the start. The Vorten warriors advanced with the same tactics they had used 3 days ago, but the humans seemed to know exactly what they were going to do. Lisa Martinez fired at an alien soldier who was trying to flank their position. Her shot took the creature in the head, dropping it instantly, but Jake could have sworn she had never made shots like that before. When had Lisa become such a good marksman? Private Ryan Cooper was moving through the rocky terrain like he had been born there. He knew exactly where to find cover and when to move. He set up an ambush that caught 5 Vorthan warriors completely by surprise. "How did you know they would come that way?" Danny Walsh asked Ryan during a brief pause in the fighting. "I don't know," Ryan answered, looking confused. "It just felt right." The battle raged for hours, but this time the humans were winning. They anticipated every Vorthan move and countered every tactic. The aliens began to fall back, something that had never happened in any of their previous conquests. General Kexthara watched from his ship with growing alarm. "What is happening down there?" he demanded. "Our warriors are retreating." "Commander," Zithrak studied his instruments. "General, I'm detecting something unusual. The human biosignatures, they don't match our previous scans." "What do you mean?" 3 days ago, we confirmed 12 human casualties. But I'm reading those same biosignatures among the active fighters. Kexthara leaned forward in his command chair. "That's impossible. Are you suggesting the humans have cloning technology?" "I don't know, General. But the female who leads their defense force was confirmed killed by direct plasma hit. I watched the scan myself. Yet she's down there now, fighting better than before." On the planet's surface, the impossible was becoming reality. Emma Rodriguez was indeed alive and treating wounded soldiers, despite the fact that both Jake and Lisa clearly remembered watching her die. When Jake mentioned this to her, Emma just shrugged. "I feel like I had a really bad dream," she said, applying bandages to a soldier's arm. "But I'm fine now." The same thing was happening with other soldiers. Men who had fallen in the first battle were back in action, fighting with skills they had never possessed before. They remembered dying, but they didn't seem traumatized by the experience. Danny Walsh cornered Jake during a quiet moment. "Captain, something weird is going on. I remember getting shot through the chest on day 1. I remember falling down and everything going dark. But here I am." Jake stared at the young soldier. He remembered Danny's death too. He remembered writing the report and feeling sick about losing another good man. "How is this possible?" Jake asked. "I don't know, sir, but I'm not complaining. And I learned something from getting killed. I know exactly how their weapons work now. I know how fast their energy bolts travel and where they aim. It's like dying taught me things." The Vorthan forces were in full retreat by evening. "Commander," Fextar called for emergency evacuation, something that had never happened in the history of the Vorthan Empire. His warriors were fleeing from a group of primitive humans who should have been dead. General Kexthara ordered his science teams to work through the night. "I want answers," he told Commander Zithrak. "How are dead humans fighting us?" "General, I've run every scan possible. These are the same humans from 3 days ago. Same DNA, same brain patterns. But they're displaying knowledge and skills they didn't have before. Could it be some kind of advanced medical technology?" "No, General, our sensors would detect that. This is something else. Something we don't understand." Jake spent that night talking to his soldiers, trying to make sense of what had happened. Every man and woman who had died in the first battle was now alive and healthy. More than that, they were better soldiers than they had been before. "It's like we learned from dying," Lisa said, cleaning her rifle. "I know things about alien tactics that I never studied. I can predict their movements." "Same here," Ryan added. "It's like dying gave us experience we never had." Emma Rodriguez joined the conversation. "I remember everything about that plasma blast. How it felt, how their weapons work, even how their targeting systems operate. It's like dying was just another kind of training." Jake looked up at the alien, ships hanging in the night sky. Tomorrow would bring another battle, but for the first time since this all started, he felt confident. His soldiers had discovered something incredible, something that might change everything. He didn't know that up in orbit, General Kexthara was having his own sleepless night, trying to understand how his superior forces had been defeated by dead humans who refused to stay dead. The war for Haven Colony was about to become something neither side had ever experienced before. General Kexthara paced back and forth in his command center, his claws clicking against the metal floor. 2 more days had passed, and his science team still had no answers. The humans were doing something impossible, and it was making his warriors nervous. "General," Commander Zithrak called from his workstation, "I have a proposal. What if we capture one of these humans alive? We could study them directly instead of trying to understand from sensor readings." Kexithara stopped pacing. It was a good idea. "Do it, but be careful. These humans are proving more dangerous than we thought." On the planet's surface, Private Danny Walsh was getting ready for another patrol when Captain Jake Sullivan approached him. "Danny, I need to talk to you," Jake said, pulling the young soldier aside. "This resurrection thing, or whatever it is, how many times has it happened to you?" Danny scratched his head and thought for a moment. "Well, there was the first battle, when I got shot in the chest. Then yesterday when that alien blade went through my neck, and the day before when I got caught in that explosion near the mining equipment. So 3 times, I guess." Jake stared at him. "You've died 3 times in 5 days, and you're talking about it like it's normal." "It feels normal now, Captain. The first time was scary. I remember the pain and then everything went black. But then I woke up back at the base completely fine. Now it's just part of the job." "Do you remember everything that happens when you die?" "Every detail. The pain, the darkness, then suddenly I'm back. But here's the weird part, Captain. Each time I come back, I know more about fighting the aliens. It's like dying teaches me their weaknesses." Jake nodded slowly. All his soldiers were reporting the same thing. Death wasn't permanent for them anymore, and it was making them better fighters each time. That afternoon, Danny was leading a small patrol near the eastern ridge when Vorthan's soldiers surrounded them. Instead of a firefight, the aliens used some kind of stunning weapon that knocked the humans unconscious without killing them. Danny woke up inside a Vorthan holding cell. The walls were made of the same blue metal as their ships, and strange. Lights pulsed overhead. An alien scientist was standing outside the energy bars that served as a door. "Human," the alien said through its translator device. "I am Science Commander Yithlok. You will answer our questions." Danny looked around the cell. He was alone, which meant his patrol members had either escaped or been taken to other cells. "I don't have to tell you anything. We shall see. Tell me, how many times have you died in this conflict?" The question surprised Danny. He had expected them to ask about human weapons or defenses, not about the resurrection effect. "Why do you want to know that?" "Because our sensors tell us that you have died multiple times, yet here you sit. This should be impossible. Explain how your species accomplishes this." Danny thought about lying, but he realized the aliens already knew the truth. "I've died 3 times, maybe 4, depending on how you count that explosion." Science Commander Yithlok made notes on a device that looked like a cross between a tablet and a weapon. "Describe the experience of dying." "It hurts at first, then everything goes dark. Next thing I know, I'm back at our base, completely healthy. But I remember everything that happened." "And you gain knowledge from these experiences?" "Yeah. Each time I die, I learn something new about your people. How you fight, how you think, what your weapons can do. It's like dying as a form of training." The alien scientist was quiet for a long time, studying his notes. Finally, he looked up at Danny again. "Human, do you understand what you are describing? You speak of death as a temporary inconvenience. This violates everything we know about biology." Danny shrugged. "I don't understand it either. It started happening after we landed on this planet. Before Haven Colony, death was permanent for us too." Science Commander Yithlok became very excited. "The planet. You believe this world is causing the effect?" "Maybe. All I know is that it started here. We've been testing it, trying to figure out the rules." "Testing it? You experiment with your own deaths?" "Sure. Yesterday, Lisa threw herself on a grenade to see if she could learn about your explosive devices. Ryan jumped off a cliff to test if height mattered. We've all died dozens of times by now." The alien scientist looked horrified. "You deliberately kill yourselves for tactical advantage? Why not? It doesn't stick. And every death makes us better soldiers." General Kexathera listened to the recording of the interrogation with growing alarm. His warriors were facing enemies who treated death as a learning experience. How do you fight soldiers who benefit from being killed? Science Commander Yithlok, what is your analysis? Kexathera asked. General, the human speaks the truth. Something about this planet is interfering with the natural process of death for their species. They retain consciousness and memory through what should be permanent biological termination. Can we duplicate this effect for our own warriors? Unknown, General. The human suggests it only works for their species on this specific world. We would need extensive testing to determine if it could affect Vorthons. Commander Zithrak joined the conversation. General, we have a more immediate problem. Our warriors are beginning to show signs of psychological stress. They report nightmares about humans they have killed returning to fight them. Some are refusing to engage in combat. Kexathera understood the problem. Vorthon warriors were trained to kill efficiently and move on. The idea that their enemies would return stronger than before was breaking their mental conditioning. How many humans have we confirmed killed in total? Kexathera asked. Over 200 individual deaths, General. But the human settlement still reports 50 active defenders. Back in his cell, Danny was having an interesting conversation with Science Commander Yithlok. The alien seemed genuinely curious about human psychology. Do you not fear death? Yithlok asked. I used to, but after it happened a few times, the fear went away. Now it's just another tool we can use. But surely the pain is traumatic. Danny considered this. The first few times, yeah, but you get used to it. Captain Sullivan says it's making us tougher mentally, not just tactically. Your species is unlike anything we have encountered. Most civilizations surrender after witnessing superior firepower. You have turned defeat into advantage. That's humans for you. We're stubborn. The alien scientist made more notes. Human Danny Walsh, I must ask you something important. Do you believe this resurrection ability makes your species invincible? Danny thought about it seriously. No, we still feel pain, we still get scared, and there might be limits we haven't discovered yet. But as long as we're on Haven Colony, your people can't win through conventional warfare. Science Commander Yithlok was quiet for a long time. Finally, he deactivated the energy bars of the cell. You are free to go, human Danny Walsh. Just like that? Yes. I have learned what I needed to know. This conflict cannot be won through military force. Danny walked out of the Vorthon ship, confused but grateful. As he made his way back to the human settlement, he wondered what the aliens would do next. He had a feeling that everything was about to change again. General Kexathera stood before the holographic display showing Haven Colony from orbit. His science teams had confirmed what he feared most. The humans were truly unkillable, at least on this cursed planet. But he was a military commander with a reputation to maintain. Surrender was not an option. Prepare the orbital bombardment cannons, he ordered Commander Zithrak. General, are you certain? Our own warriors are still on the surface. Pull them back to minimum safe distance. If we cannot kill these humans in ground combat, we will destroy their entire settlement from space. 2 hours later, the sky above Haven Colony lit up with streaks of blue energy. Massive plasma bolts rained down from the Vorthon ships, turning buildings into vapor and melting rock into glass. The bombardment continued for an entire hour. Captain Jake Sullivan and his soldiers took shelter in the deep mining tunnels as the world above them burned. The sound was incredible, like continuous thunder mixed with the screaming of tortured metal. Is everyone accounted for? Jake shouted over the noise. All 50 soldiers present, Captain, Sergeant Lisa Martinez replied. The civilians are deeper in the tunnels. When the bombardment finally stopped, the humans emerged to find their colony completely destroyed. Nothing remained above ground except glowing craters and twisted metal. The air shimmered with residual heat. Well, said Private Ryan Cooper, looking at the devastation. That's new. Lieutenant Kate Morrison kicked at a piece of melted equipment. Good thing we moved everything important underground months ago. Jake activated his communication device and sent a message to the Vorthon ships. This is Captain Sullivan. Nice light show. You missed us. 4 hours later, Jake watched through his binoculars as the same 50 human soldiers walked out of the tunnels completely unharmed. The orbital bombardment had killed them all, but they were back again, carrying the same weapons and wearing the same equipment they had started with. "How long were we dead this time?" Danny Walsh asked, checking his rifle. "Felt like about 4 hours, Emma Rodriguez answered. "But I learned something interesting while I was out." "What's that?" "I could sense their ship positions during the bombardment. I know exactly where each cannon is located on their vessels." Lisa Martinez overheard the conversation. "Same here. It's like dying to their orbital weapons taught us how they work." General Kexithera received the impossible report from his sensors. All 50 humans were active again, showing no signs of damage from weapons that should have reduced them to atoms. "Biological weapons," he decided. "Prepare the plague canisters." "General," Science Commander Whitlock interrupted, "I must advise against this course of action." The interrogation revealed that the humans reset their physical condition completely. When they return, biological agents will likely prove useless. We have to try something. I will not report to High Command that we were defeated by 50 primitive soldiers. The biological attack came at dawn. Vorthan aircraft sprayed a cloud of toxic spores over the entire area where the humans were operating. The poison was designed to kill within minutes and prevent any possibility of medical treatment. Jake felt the effects immediately. His throat closed up and his vision blurred. Around him, his soldiers were collapsing one by one. Lisa tried to put on a gas mask, but it was too late. The poison was already in their systems. "See you all in a few hours." Jake gasped before everything went dark. True to form, the humans returned exactly as Science Commander Whitlock had predicted. The biological weapons had no lasting effect. But now they understood Vorthan chemical warfare, as well as they understood plasma weapons and orbital bombardment. "This is getting ridiculous," Ryan said, spitting to clear the taste of poison from his mouth. "How many different ways are they going to try to kill us?" "As many as it takes, I guess," Jake replied. He was starting to feel the psychological effects that Commander Zithrak had mentioned. Each death was adding up, even if his body kept resetting. The memories of pain and terror were accumulating. Kate Morrison volunteered for the next phase of their strategy. "Captain, I want to try something. If I can get close to their landing craft, I might be able to learn about their technology from the inside." "That's a suicide mission, Kate." "Exactly. That's the point. I'll take some explosives with me and see how much damage I can do before they kill me. Then when I come back, I'll know the layout of their ships." Jake nodded reluctantly. The resurrection ability was changing how they thought about tactics. Suicide missions were no longer suicide if the soldier came back with valuable intelligence. Kate strapped explosives to her body and walked directly toward the Vorthan landing zone. She made no attempt to hide or use cover. The aliens shot her down when she was still 50 meters away, but not before she had memorized their guard positions and ship configurations. When Kate returned 4 hours later, she had detailed knowledge of Vorthan military procedures. "Their security is based on the assumption that enemies fear death," she reported to Jake. "They don't know how to handle someone who walks straight at them." Corporal Nick Thompson volunteered for the next mission. He spent the following week dying repeatedly, each time carrying explosives deeper into Vorthan positions. By his 15th death, he had mapped out their entire ground operation. "I know every guard rotation, every weak point in their defenses," Nick told the other soldiers. "I could walk through their base blindfolded." The psychological effect on the Vorthan warriors was becoming severe. They had never faced enemies who treated death as a reconnaissance tool. Some of the alien soldiers requested transfers off the planet. Others refused to leave their ships. Commander Zithrak reported to General Kexithera with growing concern. "Our warriors are experiencing what humans might call nightmares. They dream about the same enemies returning to kill them over and over again." "Are you telling me that my elite troops are afraid of 50 humans?" "General, imagine fighting an enemy that learns from every defeat, that gains strength from every death you inflict. Our warriors are trained killers, but they are not prepared for prey that becomes more dangerous when killed." General Kexithera was running out of options. Every weapon in the Vorthan arsenal had been tried and failed. The humans were not just surviving, They were getting better with each attack. What about psychological warfare? Kexathera asked. Torture, intimidation, breaking their will to fight? Science Commander Yithlok shook his head. General, I have observed these humans carefully. Each death experience seems to make them mentally stronger, not weaker. The human called Danny Walsh has died over 40 times now. He shows no signs of trauma or fear. Then what do you suggest? Negotiation, General. We cannot win this war through conventional means. Kexathera's pride as a military commander warred with his practical understanding of the situation. The humans had found a way to make defeat impossible. Every tactical advantage the Vorthons possessed became meaningless against enemies who treated death as a learning experience. One more attempt, he decided. I will face their leader in personal combat. Perhaps individual skill can succeed where technology has failed. Commander Zithrak and Science Commander Yithlok exchanged worried glances. They both knew that General Kexathera was about to learn the same lesson that 50 Vorthon warriors had already discovered. Fighting humans who couldn't stay dead was like trying to hold back the tide with your bare hands. General Kexathera descended from his command ship in a single-pilot craft, wearing his ceremonial combat armor. The black plates covered his 8-foot frame from head to toe, and energy weapons were built into both gauntlets. He had personally killed over 300 enemies in hand-to-hand combat during his military career. Captain Jake Sullivan waited for him in the center of what used to be Haven Colony's main square. The area was still scarred from the orbital bombardment, with pools of melted rock reflecting the afternoon sun. Jake carried only his sidearm and a combat knife. Human leader, Kexathera announced through his translator as he landed. I challenge you to single combat. If you defeat me, my forces will withdraw from this world. If I defeat you, your people will surrender. Jake looked up at the massive alien warrior. Even without his armor, Kexathera would have been twice Jake's size and weight. The energy weapons on his arms could probably cut through tank armor. What happens when I die and come back in a few hours? Jake asked. Then we will fight again, and again, until one of us acknowledges defeat. Jake nodded. Fair enough. But I should warn you, General. I've died 67 times since you arrived. I've learned a lot about fighting your people. The two warriors circled each other in the ruined square. Kexathera moved with the fluid grace of a trained killer, his claws scraping against the melted stone. Jake moved like a man who had no fear of death because death was no longer permanent for him. Kexathera struck first, firing an energy bolt from his right gauntlet. Jake rolled aside, the blast missing him by inches. He had seen that exact attack, patterned 43 times before during his various deaths. He knew exactly how fast the general could fire and where he would aim next. Jake closed the distance between them, moving in a zigzag pattern that avoided 3 more energy blasts. He slashed at Kexathera's leg with his combat knife, but the blade skittered off the alien's armor without leaving a mark. The general backhanded Jake with his left gauntlet, sending the human flying across the square. Jake hit the ground hard and felt ribs crack, but he rolled to his feet and kept fighting. Pain was just information now after dying so many times. You fight well for a primitive, Kexathera said, firing another energy bolt. Jake ducked behind, a chunk of debris. You people keep calling us primitive, but we're the ones who figured out how to beat death. Death is not beaten, human. You merely delay it. Same thing in the end. The fight continued for 20 minutes. Kexathera was stronger and better armed, but Jake knew every move the alien would make. He had fought dozens of Vorthon warriors, and died to all of their techniques. Every combat style, every weapon pattern, every tactical approach was familiar to him now. Jake managed to get behind Kexathera and jam his knife into a joint in the alien's armor. Green blood sprayed across the ground as Kexathera roared in pain and spun around, catching Jake with a claw strike across the chest. Both warriors staggered back, breathing hard. Jake was bleeding from 4 deep cuts, while Kexathera favored his wounded leg. You learn quickly, human, Kexathera admitted. I had good teachers. Your warriors have killed me in every way possible. Each death taught me something new. As they prepared to engage again, a section of debris shifted above them. A massive piece of metal from the orbital bombardment was hanging by a thin support beam, directly over where Kexathera stood. The beam was cracking under the weight. Jake saw what was about to happen. The debris would fall in 3 seconds, crushing the alien general. Kexathera was focused on the fight and hadn't noticed the danger above him. Jake had a choice. He could let the debris fall and win the fight without lifting a finger. The general would be dead and the Vorthan forces would have to withdraw according to their agreement. Instead, Jake dove forward and tackled Kexathera, pushing him out of the way just as 2 tons of twisted metal crashed down where the alien had been standing. Both warriors hit the ground hard. Kexathera looked up at the debris, then at Jake, his yellow eyes wide with surprise. "Why?" the general asked. "You could have won." Jake stood up and offered his hand to help Kexathera to his feet. "Because killing you wouldn't solve anything. You'd just be replaced by another general who would try the same tactics." Kexathera accepted the offered hand and pulled himself upright. "But I am your enemy. I have killed you many times, and I'll probably die to your people many more times before this is over. But that doesn't mean I want you dead." The alien general stared at Jake for a long moment. "Human, I do not understand. Your species. You have weaponized your own mortality, yet you show mercy to those who would destroy you. That's what makes us human, I guess. We're stubborn enough to keep fighting no matter what, but we're also smart enough to know when fighting isn't the answer." Kexathera deactivated his energy weapons and removed his helmet. His reptilian face showed an expression that might have been respect. "Captain Jake Sullivan, I have conquered 17 worlds for the Vorthan Empire. I have faced warriors who were stronger, faster, and better armed than your people, but I have never encountered soldiers who could turn death into an advantage." "It's not just the resurrection," Jake said. "It's what we learned from it. Every time one of us dies, we understand your people a little better. Eventually, we started to realize that you're not monsters. You're just soldiers following orders like us. My orders were to conquer this world. And now?" Kexathera was quiet for a long time, looking around at the devastation his forces had caused. "Now I understand that conquering your people is impossible, not because you cannot be killed, but because death does not defeat you." The general activated his communication device and spoke to his fleet in the Vorthan language. Then he turned back to Jake. "I am ordering my forces to withdraw from Haven Colony. This world will be marked as forbidden territory in our navigation charts." "Just like that?" "Captain Sullivan, my warriors are having nightmares about fighting. Your people. They cannot maintain morale against enemies who benefit from death. More importantly, I have learned something about humanity that the Vorthan Empire needs to understand." "What's that?" "Your species does not fight to conquer or destroy. You fight to protect what you care about. This makes you more dangerous than any weapon we possess." Jake nodded. "We just want to be left alone to build our colony. We never asked for this war. I know that now, and I will make sure my superiors understand it as well." The Vorthan dropships began lifting off from the planet's surface. Jake watched them go with mixed feelings. The war was over, but he knew the cost. Every human on Haven Colony now carried the memories of multiple deaths. They had won through. An impossible gift, but they would live with the trauma forever. Kexathera prepared to board his transport, then turned back to Jake one final time. "Captain, may I ask you something?" "Sure. Do you think this resurrection ability is permanent?" Jake considered the question. "I don't know, General. We only discovered it when we came to this planet. Maybe it only works here. Maybe it will fade over time. But as long as we're on Haven Colony, your people can't win through violence. Then I hope your species never leaves this world with that ability intact." "Why?" "Because if humans could resurrect anywhere in the galaxy, it would change the balance of power forever. Every species would have to choose between alliance and extinction." As the last Vorthan ship disappeared into hyperspace, Jake realized that Kexathera was probably right. Humanity had stumbled onto something that could reshape galactic civilization. The question was whether they would use that power wisely. For now, Haven Colony was safe. The miners could return to their work, and the soldiers could focus on protection instead of warfare. But Jake had a feeling that word of the unkillable humans would spread across the galaxy, bringing new challenges in the future. He looked up at the stars and wondered what other alien civilizations would think when they heard about Haven Colony. Some might come seeking alliance. Others might come seeking to destroy the humans before they could spread their resurrection ability to other worlds. Either way, humanity had announced itself to the galaxy in a way that no one would ever forget.